Jaya Kunjabi Gopi Janabha Yasoranandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Hari Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Balaji Mai Subhadra Jaya Srinataji Jaya Balagopa Jaya Srinataji Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribhradakacharya Astodhara Satashi Shimar's Divine Grace, founder of Iskana Bhai, Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, their most merciful Lordship, Sri Shrimadbhagavatam Hari Ki, Sri Jagannath, Sri Baladev Mai Subhadra Ki, Sri Nataji, Sri Balagopal Ki, Sri Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, Nitai Go Prema. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled monkeys. All glories to the Lord, the Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki.
Bhakti
Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text 22. Text 22. Mrigendra Iva Vikantro Nirgendra Iva Vikranto Nisevyo Imavan Iva Nisevyo Imavan Iva Titikshu Vasudevasa Titikshur Vasudevasa Sahishnu Pitara Eva Sahishnu Pitara Eva Mrigendra Eva Vikranto Mrigendra Eva Vikranto Nisevyo Himavaniva Nisevyo Himavaniva Titikshur Vasudeva Sa Titikshur Vasudeva Sa Sahishnu Pitaraviva Sahishnu Pitaraviva. Please chant.
Mrigendraiva Vikranto
Mrigendraiva Vikranto Nisevyo Imavaniva
Titikshur Vasudevasa
Titikshur Vasudevasa
Sahishnu Pitaraviva
Sahishnu Pitaraviva Mrigendraiva Vikranto Nisevyo Imavaniva Titikshur Vasudevasa Sahishnu Pitaraviva Mrigendraiva Vikranto Nisevyo Imavaniva Titikshur Vasudevasa Sahishnu Pitaraviva. Mrigendra, the lion. Eva, like. Vikranta, powerful. Visevya, worthy of taking shelter. Himavan, the Himalaya mountains. Eva, like. Titikshu, forbearance. Vasuda, Eva, like the earth. Asa, the child. Sahishnu, tolerant. Pitara, parents. Eva, like. Mrigendraiva Vikranto Nisevya Imavaniva Titikshur Vasudeva Sao Sahishnu Pitaraviva. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This child will be as strong as a lion and as worthy as a shelter as the Himalayan mountains. He will be forbearing like the earth and as tolerant as his parents. Please repeat. This child will be as strong as a lion.
This child will be as strong as a lion.
And as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains.
And as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains.
He will be forbearing like the earth.
He will be forbearing like the earth.
And as tolerant as his parents.
And as tolerant as his parents.
This child will be as strong as a lion and as worthy a shelter as the Himalaya mountains. He will be forbearing like the earth and as tolerant as his parents. Purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One is compared to the lion when one is very strong and chasing an enemy. One should be a lamb at home and a lion in the chase. The lion never falls in the chase of an animal. Similarly, the head of the state should never fail in chasing an enemy. The Himalaya mountains are famous for all richness. There are innumerable caves to live in, numberless trees of good fruits to eat, good springs to drink water from and produce drugs and minerals to cure diseases. Any man who is not materially prosperous can take shelter of these great mountains, and he will be provided with everything required. Both the materialist and the spiritualist can take advantage of the great shelter of the Himalayas. On the surface of the earth, there are so many disturbances caused by the inhabitants. In the modern age, the people have begun to detonate atomic weapons on the surface of the earth, and still the earth is forbearing to the inhabitants. Like a mother who excuses a little child, parents are always tolerant to children for all sorts of mischievous acts. An ideal king may be possessed of all these good qualities, and the child Parikshith is foretold to have all these qualities in perfection. Om Jnanatimrandasya Gananjana Chalakaya Chakshusun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Not only we don't have people qualified to hold the position that Parikshith Maharaj was qualified to hold, we don't have people qualified to be able to see who would be qualified. So the foretelling of the child's future is also exhibited here as a science, knowing the time and circumstances that the planetary systems are put into. So this science is lost, and basically for most part of the world, because the practitioners now, there are some who hold honorable places, but this astrology is being perverted as a sideline of chance, right? They look at it as something just to kind of parlay as a parlor kind of game or something. But this science given to Bhrigu was given the responsibility by the demigods to find out who among the three demigods, Mahavishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma, among the three, who was God. The story has it that Bhrigu approached all three personalities, and then by the intolerance or the tolerance that was revealed by the one he was testing, then he made his determination that Lord Vishnu was in fact the Supreme Person. There are three kinds of offenses that we commit towards other human beings. So we commit an offense with the mind, we commit offense with the physical body, and then
words.
With the words, and then with our words. So he approached Lord Brahma first, I believe, his father. And when Lord Brahma was speaking, he didn't answer at all, which was an act of ignorance to some extent, and Lord Brahma became angry, And by this anger, then Bhrigu could realize that, well, there wasn't exactly the amount of tolerance that would normally be found in the Supreme Person. So then he approached Lord Shiva. And he started speaking atrocities about Lord Shiva. You hang around with ghosts and all decorate your body with skulls of living entities and these kinds of things. And so then Lord Shiva, he didn't show so much happiness about this either. In fact, Lord Shiva didn't take so much offense as did Mother Parvati at that time. And she's the one that cursed Brigu then. What was the curse? Brahmins, because he came in the form of a Brahmin, dressed as a Brahmin. Now, Brahmins will never have wealth. Yeah. This is why Brahmins do not have wealth now. But this is also suggestive that this knowledge is contained within the Brahminical science. And so you don't have to, as a sideline, try to learn the science as it is. Of course, there were devotees that did that and are doing that, which is not to say that it's not a science in and of itself. But for the practical application of our use of the science in Krishna consciousness, everyone we come in contact with, Krishna by Supersoul gives us, through communication, the understanding of where this person is in life. And by revealing the modes that they are controlled by, whether passion, goodness, ignorance, then we can immediately see, because Krishna gives us, through our application of the science, the ability to see these qualities in other people. And so the amount needed for others to be helped by our association is given by the Supersoul. Like it comes automatically with the preaching as part of our opulence and knowledge. Similarly, people take the profession of selling, and for some, it has become a very wealthy profession, selling things. You can sell helicopters. I once applied for a job to sell a helicopter. With every helicopter you sold, you get $500. That was back in 1972. So I'm sure they're making more than $1,000 per sale now, these $1 million helicopters. But if you engage in the act of wanting to help other people with the knowledge of these books, I was talking about yesterday how that these books are written in such a way that children, from the very beginning ages of their lives, can, just like as we could have children sitting in this class, as we do many times, from all different ages, and we would all sit together in the same class, adults, old adults, young adults, middle-aged adults, and young children as well. And this puts us all in a place also of unity when we come together for the learning to see one another on a level of advancement spiritually. And this puts us in a proper perspective with one another. And as a community, with the whole community knowing, all of its members knowing one another, then it becomes a stronger group than it otherwise would, dividing itself amongst itself. So in the same way the nations are like that now, dividing themselves against, even within themselves. So what to speak, if the world should be united, let's see what the qualifications for holding such a position is that by the spoken words of such a self-realized soul, one can give liberation. This knowledge has the ability to liberate the souls that apply the science revealed by this knowledge. And so when we talk about liberation, we're talking about freeing people's minds from the bondage that birth, death, old age, and disease has upon it because of the soul's involvement with the material energy. And so now, with the knowledge of how to engage souls in the spiritual energy, by that engagement, then they become free. And so, in effect, we are the curers, the healers, the spiritual healers. Because actually, this is bringing people to life from that place of ignorance where people, to a great extent in the world, are dwelling in their minds, not believing there is a supreme consciousness in control of everything, forcing justice upon its participants. So human beings have the belief, for the most part, which is why we have a legal system functioning, that human beings are responsible for executing the laws of God, or laws, period. Half of them don't even believe in God. I don't know, and we're getting to the point where maybe even more than half of them don't believe there's a God. But with the belief of God comes the understanding that there is a supreme consciousness that has started everything that is in manifesting in this material universe, is the cause of all of it, and has exhibited the power to manifest the laws that will allow the living entities to be rewarded and to suffer according to their activities. And the laws are already perfect, without man having to take into his own jurisdiction the responsibility, but by qualification, because there is sinful, evil forces, which souls are in the world, that have chosen ways of evil, then those that are guided by Krishna's intelligence, knowledge, and personal association, then they know from that personal association the truth to be able to guide those with. Because those who are committing these evil acts are doing so in ignorance of the fact that they are bringing upon themselves 7 times the amount of suffering they're causing other living entities. So anyone who has knowledge of that with a sane brain, and that's where the problem lies. We don't have enough sane brains, then what to speak of intent of people's hearts. See, if the intent of the heart is crooked to begin with, then the usefulness of the body will then be used for crooked ends. So the intents are our desires. When you go looking to be educated in the systems as it is, of academia as it is, you're going, unless your parents are the ones that are putting you through, forcing you to take what they want you to follow, but you're looking to be educated in a field that you take interest in. So this desire that the human being has to fulfill some purpose in life, very important decision to be made when one is entering into those initial stages of life where he's determining for himself what he wants to do for the rest of his life, the next 50, 60 years of his life. So if it's based upon the satisfaction of the physical senses of the body only, it's going to find problems. Jai Shri Radha Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev. We're going to find problems with that because we are not in the perfect environment that the soul itself can find satisfaction with. But the consciousness that the soul by desire is able to develop, then it can experience that perfection of consciousness that will bring it to a state of qualification. Because by this purificatory process then, and one applying the science of etiquettes, one then gains the vision, that equal vision towards all forms of life that are manifesting here as expressions of the life force that has come directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just on different stages of development. So, we can't blame a child for its height. So similarly, when children are first born into this world, it is the responsibility of the parents to give the child the knowledge it needs in order to use this life for the purpose it was put here for. But if the parents are not themselves liberated and do not themselves have liberating knowledge, we will leave the society as it is right now in a state of confusion and chaos without it having sufficient guidance by leaders who are putting into the academia realm all kinds of nonsense, ignorance that by obvious changing every year the statements they consider to be truths. They're not holding absolute truth. And it is absolute truth that God is giving, that the soul has the ability to cling to become one with and understand its makeup. And this is self-realization, knowing the nature of God, knowing the nature of the self, and that it is made of knowledge. That knowledge that is made of is unlimited. Once the soul is in connection with that knowledge that it is the substance of, then it is brought to the realization. It's eternal. And the connection that's made with the source, that supreme consciousness, then once that connection is made, there is no persuasion possible for that living entity who has made that connection now to except by desire. And it all gets back to desire then. Once the free will is found by the soul who gets liberated from birth, death, old age, and disease, then it is by those decisions he has made to surrender to the Supreme that the Supreme then will give him position to be able to further promote the teachings of the Supreme. When I first came to the movement, we had people calling here, wanting us. I went across the street, these people right over here, big Catholic church, right? They had me go over there to speak about prejudice. What a perfect subject matter to speak on because, I gave them knowledge of the soul. And so this is also our inability to see that we are all life forces as souls coming from the same body causes us in our minds to divide ourselves from all other life forces as significantly individual and not a part of a complete whole. but it is that complete whole that the world is, that one who is qualified, like Maharaj Parikshith being revealed here as being qualified to, he has that vision to see all life as coming from the same supreme body with the ability to connect with the supreme consciousness. And that's what Krishna consciousness is. That's what the Krishna consciousness movement has been established for, to give to the general mass of people the knowledge that is lacking for it to function more perfectly. If we, who are members of the society, have outside desires rather than that purpose of the society itself, then those desires will pull us away from. So we have the ability, we never lose free choice in making decisions in our minds and evaluating everything in our life. We're making evaluations. The mind is made in such a way, as we say of computers, it is multitasking. As soon as you see someone, thoughts enter into the mind that you determine for yourself the size this person is, the manner this person has acting towards you, the look on their face, by the expression they make with their eyes. Your mind is formulating all these ideas. Happens automatically. This is what is being programmed now into computers to also be able to do. And they're finding their ability to create computers that are more intelligent than human beings. And therein lies the problem. Because human beings revealing the ability to destroy themselves, they don't even have to have the desire to destroy other human beings for them to destroy other human beings. You just drive down the street in a car and you can kill so many people without even wanting to. So what to speak when they're creating a machine with the ability to develop knowledge about the use of machines. The purpose of human life is, I don't know. How can a machine determine its purpose? Can a machine determine itself to have a purpose? Without a self, this is a book written by Sadaputta, Robert Tompkins, famous author now, who has written the limitations that computers or machines have as compared to the unlimited nature of consciousness. However, with now that is being made available through the internet and its connection to all knowledge that has been produced, basically, of the history of mankind, these animated machines have access to and can hold access with greater than human beings are finding themselves capable of doing. After 50, 60 years, we lose connection with our own memories, But these computers have the ability to continue developing. And if that destruction is built into them, human beings could face an existential problem. Because these things could pose, this is the fear Elon Musk is posing now, the problem that they could actually cause the extinction of the human race. I don't know that God will allow that to happen, but it is the nature and design of everything in the material universe to have a beginning and an ending. Consciousness is not the same way. So consciousness, although it can lie in dormancy and still be revived, which is what is happening inside the sea, the consciousness is there in a state of dormancy. And to some extent, because we've been through this dormant state so many millions of times, there is a built-in sense of fear for it to happen again. This fear of dying, losing everything. Losing everything. See, when we come to the point of determining in our lives that we are going to surrender to the spiritual energy of God and the spiritual consciousness of God, looking back on whatever we have been involved with prior to that, we have to realize it's useless, nothing. We wasted all that energy on that which would only lead to the destruction of these bodies, physical bodies. All the pursuance of trying to comfort the body is the cause of the body's destruction. And that pursuance of the knowledge to fulfill the soul is that which opens the consciousness up to the eternal realm of existence. And that's where fear is dissolved into the past. There is no fear held by those who have been liberated by the supreme consciousness of those who have been opened up to the realm that is available to all living entities who will take this process, this scientific process that is being made available. There are so many processes in the world, so many diets, so many recipes, so many formulas for people to follow to produce this result and that result. But we have a formula that will give us an eternal result and an experience of the eternalness of the consciousness produced by this practice of the chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the reason I'm smiling is because when people make expressions to let you know as to whether they're not so absolutely certain as to whether this is true or not, it's humorous. But it is the nature of the mind that has not yet been in contact with that eternal substance. This is the longing we have in all of our search that we do in our lives for happiness. It's looking for the eternal substance of the self. And the eternal substance of the self is manifest in souls, by souls, who are realized and brought to the stage of qualification like Maharaj Parikshith was. So then what manifests in that soul is the laws of God. So then his deeds, when he approached Kali, he was ready to cut Kali's head off. And here Kali was cutting the legs off of a cow. And today, every meal practically of some people has bits and pieces of the cow in it. If they're not using it to eat with, then they're using it as soap. Or they're using parts of the body to make cheese with. All this from the cow. They're using the leather for shoes to walk on. They're using the leather for all kinds of stuff. Without the appreciation of the fact that that cow is if not the only, one of the very rare creatures on this planet that are born into the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness amongst human beings is rarely, if ever, to be found. The mode of goodness in this age. In Satyuga, the mode of goodness is prominent because all the people on the whole planet are dedicated and have their lives a unifying force towards knowing and realizing God. And when that is prominent, all the elements of the world work together for mankind. The winds that blow the breezes that fertilize those grains that need the winds to blow them, to fertilize, to produce more, all for the benefit of mankind, human beings, and other creatures as well, so that they can have food. The winds work for the production of foodstuffs. The rains work for the production of foodstuffs. The sun for the all for the existence of the living entities that are in the universe. And they're all set in a perfect order for everything to work as it was in the beginning. Perfectly. And every day, mankind works towards making it more perfect. But without his connection to know the original perfect, his own measurement of what perfection is will be misconstrued and perverted, which is what we have come to now. If we have no standard of knowing what is absolute perfection, then we have no means of being able to determine what kind of perfection we want the result of our labors to produce. So in the way of agriculture, when people are manipulating the genetic makeup by physically dissecting the DNA of the creature, they don't know. They are manipulating the very history of that creature's existence. And without that knowledge, then they believe themselves, authorized to be able to do this to other living entities. All these tests made on all these creatures for human beings can never assimilate the equivalent in the human being's body, because their bodies work. Some things that are poison for human beings are not poisonous for animals. Some things that are poisonous to animals are not poisonous to human beings. And so all this testing and then the tests end up becoming tests on human beings eventually in order for it as a medicine to be used on a human being. And all this is because of human beings having cut themselves off from knowledge of God. When Krishna has spoken Ayurveda into existence, giving mankind the ability to develop the knowledge that God himself has of the way the physical body works, and every physical body having its specific designation of the way it responds to every kind of food, every kind of medicine, the air itself. Every body responds differently to different things. And so this science is perfected. And children who are brought up with this science begin learning that at the age of 5 years old. Because these sciences of God are part of being a human being, part of being a completed human being, and having the knowledge to get back to where God is, where full and complete eternal knowledge is known by all the inhabitants of that dwelling. And that's why I think it would be good for human beings to find the means to create within their societies cities developed by the people who have their belief and faith in specific paths. So make a city for that path. You have a Methodist city, Presbyterian city, a Catholic city, a Hare Krishna city, an atheist city. Let them all function with the philosophies that they are all holding as most functional in all of their unified minds. And then, at the end of 10, 15, 20 years, compare notes. And keep comparing notes for thousands of years. And human beings will develop more and more perfectly in this way. All of them being able to put into effect what results can be found on each of their individual paths, perfectly by the society developing those qualities and characteristics that each of those paths are suggesting that human beings develop. So then we would have proof for ourselves by the end result statement in the Bible. By their fruits you will know them. So what end result of societal experience these cities would be having, and people who wanted to make a determination of where they wanted to live for the rest of their life, they could go visit one city, and another city, and another city. All these people will come to find, to continue their existence on this planet, all that is required is food, clothing, and comforts from, protection from the outer forces of nature. And when that is realized and the people go back again, there will be time enough for spirituality to become a more, taking up more of our time than anything else. We would have more time for spirituality and to actually experience the true happiness that human life is meant to produce for the human being. Because by engaging in the spiritual, eternal energy being made available from the spiritual world itself, we have access to that which is given to very few creatures in this day and age. And so as Krishna conscious devotees, we have now, for the rest of the day, the rest of our future, the ability to take full hold of this process of Krishna consciousness, studying these books every day, spending an hour or two on each book, giving us a full experience of self-realization, and thereby enabling us to take part in a society with full realization of the qualities and characteristics that human beings are meant to exhibit in this life, and to eventually develop pure love, which is the ultimate goal of all these paths. But there are so many different perspectives that human beings all have about their own goals. As Abraham Lincoln said, you can, he said you can fool some of the people, some of the time. You can fool a lot of the people, a lot of the times. But you can't fool all the people, all the time. So similarly, you can't satisfy all the people all the time either. Unless they come to the realization of self and of God and the communion with the relationship that automatically develops by applying the principles that God himself has established for human beings to be able to have the experiences he's wanting for us to have. Life wasn't created for suffering only. And knowledge is there for us to realize and to become able to apply to our lives. That's why the teachings are given, to free us from the contamination of our own desires and our own mind's guidings, to give us that unlimited viewpoint the spiritual being, the soul can have of its own self, and its relationship with the Supreme Soul, the Supreme Being, Krishna. And that's going to be about the end of class today. There has been a feast prepared for those who are serving the Supreme Person. A feast is prepared for those with loving devotion. And it is restricted only to those who are serving the Supreme Person. So if you want to take full advantage of this human body, then you will take to serving the Supreme Person. And we can all do that simply by chanting the holy names of the Supreme Person, invoking the spiritual energy of the Supreme Person, who has empowered his names with all spiritual energy there is, with all force that there is. So we will use the day to chant these holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we will experience the highest taste of love. Love is something to experience with this human form of life, more so than any other form made available on this planet. But as we develop consciousness available to us on this planet, now through this chanting, we will gain qualification for a higher body after this life that is not subject to birth, death, old age, and disease, that is full of knowledge and has all opulences available to it. That is the promise given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All those who follow the instructions of Krishna will go back to Krishna, because then they automatically take on the characteristics of the citizens of his cities. And he has many cities for all of his inhabitants to dwell in. And we can build those cities on the earth as well. That's the purpose of God. We are a holy people, and so God's people should live separately from people who are not holy and do not practice the holy ways of God. Those who are not practicing the ways of God are contaminating everything they involve themselves in. And that's what most believers are not understanding either. And consciousness is the contaminated force that pushes people to fulfill their karmic reactions. A reaction is something that happens automatically. If you're talking about the material energy. How would Isaac Newton hardly say, every force, every action produces a reaction, equal in force and opposite in direction. Well, by that it would seem like the more good we preach, the more bad would come out of it. So it's not exactly the opposite. The same and equal force, but in a different direction. But if you look at the universe, Ultimately, all directions point to the inner surface on which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is lying in the causal ocean. So everything is pointing to Him. No matter what direction we point in, we're pointing to God. We don't know it yet, but that's how it is. So everything we try to engage in this world is an extension of some aspect of God. But we are looking at it as something that we have the right to own. We have the right to make ours. This is all a false ego. And this is all the cause of our suffering. And it's one of the most difficult things to do, breaking the false ego. Because in a sense, it seems like defeat. But it is only defeat if we are thinking of the self as ultimately the most important. So, in order to continue our existence, we have to see ourselves as important enough to want to continue our lives. But to know who is the most significant being from whom everything comes, then we remove ourselves from that place where we hold responsibility for that which we gain possession of. But if we recognize that nothing is ours, then there's no reaction for that mentality. There's no reaction to hold in neutral that which we don't possess. So, nothing produces nothing. If we don't act on it, then we don't produce any reaction. So that's the material energy's nature. It's actually better not to activate it, which is weird. But it is the material energy we have to transform into spiritual energy. And that's all done by offering it to the Supreme Most Person who has that ability to do that. And the reason anyone else would have that ability is because of their connection to that Supreme Person. The one and only. There's one man, one male. There's only one male. Krishna is that being, that person. And we're all subject to him. We're all subject to the forces he's created. So we might as well surrender. Because what is futile? What is it? Resistance is futile. To the all-powerful, resistance is futile. Might as well surrender. Any comments, any questions, any realization?
Thank you.
Jai. Canto Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Krishna Radha Krishna ki jai.